So for today's deep dive, we're starting with a scene that I think a lot of people will recognize. It's that moment when an autistic teen comes to you and they can't quite find the words, but they say something like, something just feels wrong.
Right. There's no language for it yet, but their body already knows. Their body has registered a threat.
Exactly. And the real problem we're getting into, is that most conventional safety training sees that signal and immediately calls it a deficit.
Yeah. The assumption is, oh, they're just overreacting or they're misreading social cues again.
Yeah.
But the source material we're digging into today flips that completely. It argues that signal isn't a weakness at all.
It's wisdom.
It's relational wisdom. It's the first and most important piece of data.
But the system fails because it pushes assimilation. It tells the team, fit in, act more confident, make more eye contact. It treats danger like it's a misunderstanding on their part.
It basically says the danger is inside you, and you need to perform neurotypicality to be safe. And that turns safety into this exhausting, nonstop performance.
Which is what the source calls a quiet violence. You're teaching a kid that their survival depends on hiding who they are, on overriding their own gut feeling.
It's a huge critique.
Yeah.
Because think about the long-term cost of that. It's burnout, it's a total disconnection from your own body, and kind of ironically, it makes them more vulnerable.
More vulnerable? How?
Well, because they've been trained their whole lives to ignore their instincts, to please someone else, to follow the script.
Okay, so let's get into the foundation of this failure. The source material points to something called the deficit gaze.
Right. It's this idea baked into so much of the research that the risk, the vulnerability, it lives inside the autistic person. Their supposed naivete or their lack of social skills.
So the solution is always to fix the child.
Always. Teach them to camouflage, drill them on social scripts, make them perform confidence. And if something bad happens, the unspoken message is, well, you didn't pretend well enough.
It's heartbreaking. So what's the paradigm shift?
The source pushes for a totally different framework. It's called the power threat, meaning framework. And instead of asking what's wrong with this child, you start asking different questions.
Like what?
Like, what conditions created this vulnerability in the first place? How is power operating in this relationship, in this environment?
So it shifts the burden of responsibility. Safety is no longer just an individual skill to be perfected.
Exactly. It becomes collective. It becomes relational. And that's really our mission for this deep dive, exploring how we teach danger without teaching fear.
Yeah.
How we build what the Force calls relational sovereignty.
So if we're throwing out the old model of compliance and performance, what's the alternative? The source brings up this idea of a matristic ethic.
Yeah, and it's a really specific term. It's about moving away from those individualistic, almost patriarchal models of protection, where you have to be tough and defend your walls all alone.
The matristic ethic is rooted in
What's like?
care.
Care, reciprocity, and shared responsibility. It's the idea that safety isn't a wall you build around yourself. It's more like a shared resource.
A communal warmth, I think was the phrase used.
Precisely. A commons of care. It's co-created. People are looking out for each other, keeping the relational field steady. And, crucially, it honors the inherent strengths of autistic kids.
And that's the big reframe. Because traits like a deep commitment to honesty, a strong sense of fairness, loyalty, these are often seen as liabilities.
But in this model, they're stabilizers. They're what make relationships safe as long as the environment actually values them instead of trying to suppress them.
Which brings us to pattern recognition. Autistic teens, the source says, often process the world through gestalts, through whole shapes and patterns.
Right. It's often linked to Gestalt language processing, or GLP. It's not about analyzing tiny, isolated social rules like, did they use the right tone?
So if it's not about the isolated rules, what is it about?
It's about the emotional texture of the whole interaction, the atmosphere, the rhythm. They might not notice someone use the wrong polite phrase, but they will feel that the mood in the room just went from warm to ice cold for no reason.
Or that someone's words don't match the tension in their body.
Exactly that. That holistic pattern recognition is incredibly accurate. And that's what we should be leveraging, not trying to train out of them.
So instead of teaching them to read microexpressions, which is just exhausting, we teach them the concrete repeating loops that manipulative people use.
Yes. Let's get into those. The first, and maybe the most insidious one, is charm, confusion, blame.
The rug pull.
The ultimate rug pull. It starts so warm, so flattering, and then out of nowhere, the warmth is gone, and suddenly You're being blamed for a shift you didn't even cause. You're left thinking, wait, what did I do?
And that must be so damaging for someone who really values clarity and fairness.
It is, because the charm hooks into their genuine desire for connection. And when the blame hits, they immediately try to self-correct. They assume they broke the social contract, and the manipulator just uses that sense of justice against them.
Wow. Okay, what's the second pattern? The more infrastructural one.
That would be flattery as hook, isolation as infrastructure.
Yeah.
This is where intense praise makes the teen feel seen, chosen. Finally, someone gets me.
It's a trap.
It's a trap. That intense attention slowly becomes a cage. It becomes a demand for exclusivity, and it starts pulling them away from their friends, their family, their support system.
And the positive attention is the tool that builds the prison. Then there's the internal pattern, the one the body feels first.
And this is the most important one to learn to trust. It's heat in the body, pressure to appease shrinking voice, before your brain can even name what's happening.
You feel it.
You feel it. A tightness, a dread, a heat. And that immediately triggers this impulse to smooth things over, to just be agreeable. And your voice gets smaller, quieter. We have to teach them that heat, that tightness, that's real data.
So giving language to that data has to start in the body. We're not teaching them a new checklist. We're just naming sensations they already have.
100%. We have to move from the abstract red flag to a concrete, sensory tethered cue, like the pressure to be nice.
Okay, describe what that actually feels like in the body.
It's that tightening in your throat. It's the feeling of your no being sort of erased by social pressure. You're forcing a smile when every part of you wants to just stop. That tightening is the signal.
Another one is that inconsistency that feels like mood weather.
Yes. You just never know who you're going to get. One minute, it's warm sunshine. The next, it's a cold, biting wind. The nervous system hates that.
That volatility.
It's not a misread. It's your body going into high alert because of the unpredictability. That sinking feeling in your stomach is a totally valid response to risk.
And the really tricky ones are the ones that look positive on the surface, like charm that silences you.
Yeah. That praise isn't genuine. It's a tool. It's a way to stop you from speaking up. It's a glow that turns into this suffocating fog. You feel smothered, and your own voice just feels heavy, unusable.
Then there's the rush, the demand for a rapid response. Why didn't you text back right away? That urgency itself is a tactic, right?
It absolutely is. It's designed to make your mind freeze. It's a cognitive shutdown. Your heart races. You feel pulled into their timeline, and you can't think clearly.
And finally, that classic blame shifting disguised as a joke.
Oh, that one lands like a sting. Everyone else is laughing, but you walk away with this twisting in your gut, feeling smaller, and you're not even sure why this joke was on you.
So the key takeaway from all of this is what?
The key takeaway is that the tightness, the heavy feeling, the mental fog, these are real data points. If your body knows something is wrong before your words do, your body is not wrong. Defer to the physical truth.
So once we anchor these cues in the body, how do we practice responding without falling back into those old traps? Because we want competence, not just compliance.
We have to reject traditional role play. It just doesn't work.
Why not?
Because it trains compliance. It teaches teens to ignore what they're feeling inside to get the scripted lines right. It's rehearsed obedience. It's not safety.
So the alternative is a rehearsal that's aligned with that Gestalt processing style, strengthening the signals they already have.
Exactly. The first technique is sensory recall. Instead of practicing lines, we map the body's alarm system. We ask, where did you feel that shift first? Was it in your stomach, your throat, your shoulders?
You're teaching them to catch the signal earlier, before the freeze.
Right. And then you use Gestalt rehearsal. You don't script the words. You trace the emotional arc, the warmth, then the confusion, then the pressure, then the shrinking feeling. They practice navigating the feeling, not the conversation.
That makes so much sense. You're building embodied sovereignty.
That's the goal. An internal, trustworthy practice. And that sovereignty is so important when we talk about boundaries. We need to move away from the wall metaphor.
The source calls them membranes.
Yes, membranes. They're not rigid walls. They're alive. They're responsive. They let in what feels good and true, and they filter out what harms.
This sounds a lot like queer relational ethics, where consent isn't a one-time checklist.
It's a rhythm. It shifts. It pauses. It can retreat at any moment. Care is mutual by default. If it stops being mutual, something is wrong.
Okay, so when a teen is in that high-pressure loop, that charm, confusion, blame, They need anchors. They need what the source calls sovereignty scripts.
And these are short, steady phrases designed to create space for them, not to please the other person.
Give us some examples.
One of the best is simply, "I need a moment to think." It's
Yeah.
brilliant. It just stops the manipulator's urgency in its tracks. Or, "That felt strange. Can we pause?" It names the shift cleanly, without accusation.
And the really direct one. My body doesn't like this.
It's so powerful because it's simple, it's honest, and you can't argue with it. It centers their physical reality.
And for when things are really clear,
"I don't owe you an explanation. I'm stepping back." That's a strong, clear boundary against pressure. All of these scripts signal that their comfort and their timing matter more than the demand.
so now we have to zoom out. If safety is this collective commons, what does that demand from the adults, from families and schools?
The first thing, the absolute most foundational thing, is this. Believe them without demanding proof. Discomfort is enough. A team saying, "I feel weird about this," is all the data you need to support them stepping back.
You don't interrogate them.
You don't interrogate them. Your job is to steady the environment, not to question their reality. And this is where adults often make mistakes. They accidentally gaslight.
By saying things like, oh, he seems so nice, or maybe you're reading too much into it.
Exactly. And that just teaches the teen to trust a charming surface over their own gut wisdom. We have to remember, coercive people are often very, very good at seeming friendly and capable to other adults.
So adults need to be trained to see the patterns too, not just the surface behavior.
Yes, they need to spot the loops. And beyond that, they have to model safety themselves. Transparency, a steady tone, offering choices, allowing for regulation without guilt. But even that isn't enough. We have to look at the whole system.
Because the biggest challenge is that societal belief that autistic kids are the ones who have to adapt.
Right. If we keep insisting that the child has to perfectly mask to be safe, we're leaving all the systemic dangers completely in place.
So we need an ecological view of safety. What does that environment look like?
It means fewer spaces where one adult has all the power with no oversight. It means open channels where teens can report feeling confused, not just after something terrible has happened. It means shining daylight on relationships to make those unchecked power dynamics impossible.
And this approach, it builds autonomy without creating paranoia. You want sovereignty, not constant vigilance.
Absolutely. We have to teach the difference between everyday human messiness, people being clumsy or awkward, and a calculated repeating pattern of manipulation and control.
So you focus on the dynamics and the atmosphere, not on trying to profile types of people.
You focus on what the room feels like, how the dynamic shifts, how your own body is responding. That's what builds real grounded confidence.
The confidence that says, I know what safety feels like in my body, I know the rhythm of mutual care, and I know when that changes.
And when safety is structural and shared like that, it's no longer this exhausting individual burden.
At the end of the day, then, this whole approach is about a single core truth.
It is. It's that autistic teens deserve a world where their deep attunement, their openness, isn't treated as a liability to be managed, but as a resource to be protected. Their instincts are intelligence. Their boundaries are sacred.
Which brings us to the final, really profound takeaway from this. The point of teaching about danger isn't to harden these teens, to make them skeptical or closed off.
No. It's to affirm the softness and sensitivity that never should have been treated as a weakness to begin with.
So we'll leave you with a final thought to mull over.
If safety really is a collective practice, a communal warmth, what's one small structural change you could make in your own world, at home, at work, in your community, to increase that daylight and reduce unseen, unchecked hierarchy?